According to biologicaldiversity.org, the UN predicts that the human population will surpass 11 billion by the end of the century. As the world population grows, so do its demands on water, land, trees, and fossil fuels, all of which come at a steep price for already endangered plants and animals. My research will be from biologicaldiversity.org, founded for the preservation of endangered species, plants and animals, endangered environments, land, air, and sea, and the United Nations and the US Census Bureau. In the beginning of time, we had a small population. Designed as social creatures, we bonded together to tackle hunger, shelter, clothing, and illness. This was due to the abundance of natural resources around us. We worked as a single organism. We did not mind skin, sex, nationality, political views, or economic background. Life was basic and secure. We have come a long way from that. So, how do we tackle the expanding human population? Let's face it, the world is a finite resource. We cannot, in order for us to be able to explore more of this world, we have to either take down trees or endanger more species, or if not, damage an environmental factor that actually supports the ecosystem's oxygen, air, and very finite resources that we have. And right now that we are facing global warming, we need to tackle our crisis at hand. So what are the tried solutions that have been tried for this that we can be able to explore? The first one, women empowerment. Studies have shown that women with access to reproductive health services find it easier to break out of poverty, while those who work are more likely to use birth control. The United Nations Population Fund aims to tackle both issues at once, running microcredits in Africa and in other poor communities like Bangladesh, projects to turn young women into advocates for reproductive health. Secondly, promote family planning. Simply, educating men and women about contraception can have a big impact. When Iran introduced a national family planning program in 1989, its fertility rate fell from 5.6 births per woman to 2.6 in a decade. A similar effort in Rwanda saw a threefold increase in contraception usage in just 5 years. Thirdly, making education entertaining. The US-based population media center gets creative to reach women. Its radio soap operas, which features culturally specific stories about reproductive issues, have been heard as many as 500 people in 50 countries. In Ethiopia, 63% of the women seeking reproductive health services reported tuning in to this station. Government incentive. Those at UK charity Population Matters believe that there should be a senior government official responsible for addressing population-related issues. They urge governments to promote responsible parenthood and say subsidies should be limited to the first 2 children unless the family is living in poverty. So basically, if you're well educated, you should just be able to have 2 children because that way you can be able to have an abundance of resources to help them. The fifth one is actually a controversial one. It was developed by China, the one-child legislation. During China's highly controversial one-child policy, fertility fell from 6 births per woman in 1960 to 1.5 in 2014. However, Amnesty International reports that the policy led to concerted and coerced or forced abortions and sterilizations. It also disrupted traditional support structures for the elderly and led to a gender imbalance. So, what are the solutions that can be able to help solve our problems for the future? My belief is that space exploration should be looked at as a serious solution to this problem. I know it feels like a joke, but it has reached that time. Just imagine Columbus back in the day when he was in the edge of the port of Portugal, looking over the blue horizon, the sea, with a wooden boat and some sailors. He decided to go out there and look for new lands. Europe was facing overpopulation growth, and they needed somewhere where they could be able to move that excess population. That's how they found the United States. We can apply this notion of unknown, of exploring the unknown, to our solar system. Or we can look for places whereby we can be able to move, or if not, reclaim land and be able to move excess population to that region. We can use the resources that we find in those regions, like we can mine Mars, we can mine the solar system for materials that can be used to build more spaceships, that can be able to be used to build more factories, create more jobs, and be able to create an economic system. Also, we can use the solar system for those uninhabitable planets to be able to sustain the growth of food. Not all growth of food can be able to live in our environment, but we can also look for other environments where we can be able to grow food. And we can be able to use all that resource to be able to leave the planet that we live in on Earth, have more species, and we have finite resources, be able to explore those planets. My solution to mine other planets for resources will help us. We don't have to cut trees, kill whole communities, and take their land, damage ecosystems and their natural beauty, and we can preserve of wildlife. I do thank you for this speech that I have had it here before me, and I hope we do find solutions for our human growth problem.